Good morning, all of you. Welcome to the BWS Legal Rostrum lecture series. In previous lectures, we have elaborately discussed on various legal topics, and today is the same thing we are going to do. We will be discussing on a different topic and important one, which is the basics of labor laws. We all know that we work in a particular establishment. Some work in factories, some work in companies, some work in some different institutions. So we are part of different industries, and we work for our employer to give them more profit. So there are some obligations on us to fulfill our duties. Apart from the duties, there are some rights given under the laws for the employee, for the worker, and for the employer as well. There will be nothing like there will be no right for the employer as well. There are rights available for employer as well. The person is equally obligated or equally has a right to get justice from the court. Article 14 says that each and every citizen of this country is entitled to get equal protection of laws, and each and every citizen of this country is has equal right to has a right to equality under laws. So there are special provisions as well given to the labor laws to protect laborers from exploitation from the employer, right? So the employer and the workman or the employee is equally protected under the labor laws. It is not like that the only employer and the worker is protected under the statute, but the employer is also equally protected and equally has protection of laws. Okay, so what do we understand from labor laws? Labor laws are laws which governs the procedure of protection and protect the procedure to uh, protect a worker, employee from the exploitation from each other. It is not like that the only the worker gets exploitation from the employer. Certain things or certain times, the employee or the worker also exploits the employer. There are case laws. There are case laws. So if we discuss about this thing, we will have to independently study the whole statute. Okay. So what are the rights available to the employer, employee, and the worker? What is the core difference? Many individuals or the many persons do not know that what is the difference between the employer and the the worker and the employee. Okay, so we will understand that thing as well in this lecture series. So we'll discuss by getting into the act first. Okay, so we will not talk in verbal. We will go by substantial evidences. Okay, so we will go through the core act. So before moving further topic, I will be discussing about few statutes. So total statutes we govern in India. So how many laws are there? I will be discussing briefly on that. There are many acts which govern labor laws, which protects employer, employee, and workmen as well. So I'll be reading out the statutes one by one. The first statute is the Factories Act 1948. The workmen who work in a factory is entitled to get protection from the risk which they face in a daily workings. So the Factories Act protects the worker who work in factories and establishments. Generally, this act enacted to protect the workers who work in dangerous situations, like in the building uh, construction line. The worker works in a situation where they have danger to the life. So that is why the Factories Act came into existence, came into picture. Now, second is the Plantations Labor Act 1957 or 1951. The plants which we see in the industries, various projects are going on. The basically the Plantation Labor Act protects the worker who work in a plantation industry, who work for the projects, who work under the projects. So third is the Mines Act. We all know what is mine, coal mines and etc. All that. The transport, the Indian Railways Act 1890, who protects the laborers or the employees of the railways. The Dock Workers Act 1948, the Merchant Shipping Act 1958, the Motor Transport Workers 1961, the Shops and Commercial Establishments Act, central as well as state acts. Now, second thing is safety and welfare about the of the worker. In this, the Limestone and Dolomite Mines Labor Welfare Act protects the limestone workers. The Mica mines. These are some small statutes which govern safety and the welfare of the workers. Now, second is Welfare Fund Act 1976. Under this substantial law, there are many supplementary laws as well. The Iron Ore Mines Act, the BD Workers Act, the BD Worker Welfare Says Act, the Dock Workers Safety and Health Act, and Welfare Act. Now, second thing comes to that the wages and bonus. You all know that we get equal wages, and as per the Constitution of India, whether male or female, both are equally have a right to get equal remuneration from the industry. The employer cannot discriminate from the sex, whether he is a male or whether female. Both are equally protected under the law, and both are equally has a right to get equal remuneration from the employer. Now, this thing comes that the Payment of Wages Act, the Minimum Wages Act, the Payment of Bonus Act. Okay. Now, the Social Security, the Workmen's Compensation Act, the Employers State Insurance Act, the workman who, as we have already discussed, that the workman who is working under danger situation is liable to get insurance by the uh, employer. Okay. So Maternity Benefit Act, we all know what is maternity benefit. When the employee gets pregnancy, then the Maternity Benefit Act comes into the picture. The Employees Family Pension Scheme Act 1971, the Trade Unions Act. This is most important act. Most of the in previous era, in previously 10 or 20 years back, There were many trade unions in the establishment. Nowadays, we cannot see many unions because of their political structure and all that. But still, in railways, there are many. There is a trade union. Okay, there is a railways union available still right now. So basically, what they do, union works for the worker. Union works for the rights of the worker. When the workman gets exploited by the employer, or when the workman gets the injustice from the employer, then unions of this kind of establishments comes into the picture, and they fight for the justice. Okay, they fight for the workmen, and unitely they come together and fight for the justice of the uh, workers or the worker. Okay, nowadays the to become a member of particular trade union, it is not mandatory. Okay, as per the Industrial Disputes Act, there is some relaxation given to the worker, even though you are a worker of the company or the employee of the company, and you are not the part of member of the trade union. Still, you can have access to the court. You can directly approach to the court for the justice. Okay, so it is not mandatory to become a member of the trade unions or the any kind of unions in your company. Okay. Second thing is the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act. This is the second most important. When your industry gets established, first of all, you will have to be a part of the model standing order first. And the industry, after following certain procedure of the law, or after complying with the laws, the industry can establish their own standing orders as well. There are multiple companies who follow their own procedure or the own standing orders. What is standing orders? We will come to know later on. We will be discussing on that separately. The Industrial Disputes Act is the most core act in these labor laws. We will be discussing on the Industrial Disputes Act and the MRDU and POLP. What is MRDU and POLP? I'll be discussing on that further. Now miscellaneous acts, yani, like there are many petty acts which governs the justice, which protects the employee and the workman from the exploitation from each other. Okay, there are children's pledging of Labor Act 1933, the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act as per Constitution of India. The child who is below the age of 14 years is not entitled to work in any industry or in any company or in any establishment. Okay. The Collection of Statistics Act 1953. These are miscellaneous acts which supplements the labor laws. The Employment Exchanges Compulsory Notification of Vacancies Act 1959. The Apprentices Act. Apprentices means those who gets training from the company, those who are under training era, or the those who like professionals like CA, chartered accountants, and company secretaries and lawyers as well. Those who are in a law studies or the professional courses, they get training from the industries. Like in engineering as well, we get uh, training from the factories or the establishment who work in a industry of engineering. Okay, so the Apprentices Act works for that. The Bidi and Cigar Workers Act 1966, the Equal Remuneration Act, as we have already discussed, that the female or male, they are equally liable for the remuneration. Okay, there should be no discrimination on the grounds of sex. Okay, The Bonded Labor System Abolition Act. Bonded means in previous era, in olden days. That means in pre-British era and after British era as well. There were a time there was a time when the bonded labor they used to work. What was the bonded labor? When the uh, child was born in a family, he was used to become a bonded labor. Okay, just like he used to get some seal, he used to get some stamp on his hand or something like that. He used to work uh, like a bonded labor. That means he was bonded for the lifetime of his journey. He used to work for the particular industry or the employment. That was that was called as a bonded labor. Now the bonded labor has the concept of bonded labor has been abolished by this act. Okay. Now the Sales Promotion Employees Service Conditions and Service Conditions of Services Act 1976. The Interstate Migrant Workers. Okay. The Interstate Migrant Workmen's Act 1979. The Immigration Act 1983. The Building and Other Construction Workers. Now the building construction is a sometimes is a dangerous activity given under the laws, and to protect workers from the dangerous situations, there are various safety measures given under the laws. So that is why this act come into the picture. The Building and Other Construction Act 1996 and the Building and Other Construction Workers Says Act 1996. Okay, so these were the supplementary acts. There were subsection laws as well. So we will be discussing on that. So let's go to the slides now. So we have already gone through the brief introduction. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so we have already gone through the list of legislations governing labor and employment. Now we will go through few, that is one or two substitute laws. That is I will be discussing on two acts, two statutes. That is one is the Industrial Disputes Act and the second is MRTU and PULP Act. That is MRTU and PULP means the Maharashtra Recognition of Trade Unions. That is MRTU, and PULP means Prevention of Unfair Labor Practices. Okay, so these are most important concepts under the labor laws. We will be discussing on that. So we will be first discussing on the Maharashtra Recognition of Trade Unions and Prevention of Unfair Labor Practices. Okay, so MRTU and PLP I have already told you that, and then will be going through the Industrial Disputes Act as well. Rather, we will be will do one thing. We'll go the Industrial Disputes Act first, and then thereafter we will be go through the Maharashtra Trade Unions Act. Okay, so the Industrial Disputes Act came into picture in 1947. The main objective of the act or the statute was or is to protect from the exploitation, okay, of the employer. The basically act came into picture to protect the employee from the exploitation of the employer. Okay. The industrial disputes. What do you mean by industrial disputes? So industrial disputes means the disputes between the workman and workman, the dispute between the workman and the industry, and the dispute between the industry and industry. So to resolve this kind of the industrial disputes, the Industrial Disputes Act came into picture in 1947. So what is this statute all about? We'll be discussing that. So as usual, we will go into the main preamble of the act. This is the section where we get all the information or the gist of the statute. By reading this act, I'll be going through the preamble of the act, which is the preamble says that an act to make provisions for the investigation and settlement of industrial disputes and for certain other purposes. Okay, as we have already discussed, the dispute between the industry to industry, the dispute between the worker and the industry, and the dispute between the worker and the worker. Okay, so to settle these disputes or the investigation of this kind of disputes, the Industrial Disputes Act works. Okay, now this act extends to the whole of India. Okay, in earlier days there was always a provision that it extends or the particular act was used to extend to the whole of country except to the Jammu and Kashmir, and nowadays after striking down the article 370, the statute nowadays applies to the whole of India, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, there is a section 2 which provides for the definitions part. Appropriate government means in gist of the this provision I'll tell you what is the appropriate government. Appropriate government means the state government or the union government. Okay, this is the gist of this provision. Whichever industry comes under the laws of central legislations. Suppose, for example, the railways comes under the central legislations. Okay, we have already discussed about in previous lectures that what is appropriate government. We can go through that. We will be discussing important provisions only. Okay, arbitrator. Arbitrator is a person who acts like an umpire. Okay, we all know who is umpire, who judge the situation and gives his opinions to settle the dispute between the parties. Okay, so this is the important concept under section 2G, the definition of employee given. Okay, what is employee? We will be discussing on that. Okay, employer means in relation to an industry carried on by or under the authority of any department, the central government or the state government, the authority prescribed in this behalf, or where no authority is prescribed, the head of the department. Okay, employer means in short or the to give the gist of this definition, employer means to give the employment opportunities to the employee or the workman. Okay, is called as the employer. Where no such employer is provided under any law, the head of the department. Okay, we can observe in the government agencies there is no particular employer given under the law. Okay, either we work under the head of state or under the head of union. Okay, so to call a person as an employer, this definitions is useful. This definition is useful. Okay, so if somewhere is not provided the employer, the head of the department is considered as an employer. Okay, suppose to take an example, if we take an example of the railway company. Okay, in railway company there are many departments. Okay, there are technical department and the official communication department. There are various secretariat and various other departments as well provided under the railways. So the railway is the main employer in this case. But suppose I am working under some department. So who will be my employer? My main employer will be the railways, but my supplementary employer will be the head of the department. Okay, where there is no exact uh, employer given under one particular department. The head of the department is considered as an employer. Okay. There are various provisions given under this act, such as strike, lockout, notice, lockdowns. Okay, we just move on. We can go to that by reading the statute. Okay, so there are various definitions, there are various provisions given under this act. We will be discussing a gist of this act. Now, when we get into the dispute, like this Industrial Disputes Act applies to the settlement and investigation of disputes within between the industry to industry, worker to worker, and worker to industry. Okay, so what is the procedure we will have to follow to get rid of get rid from the justice, get rid from the injustice. Okay, so what is the procedure we will have to follow? We will have to complain to the labor courts. We can complain to the labor courts. Okay, there are other provisions as well. We can follow that procedure. Now, the labor law comes into the picture when you get the injustice from the employer, or the employer gets the exploitation from the uh, workers as well. Then the labor laws come into the picture. Which kind of injustice we can face? The first injustice is retrenchment from the job, retrenchment from the company without giving substantial opportunity of being heard. Okay, that means without following a natural justice, we have retrenched by the employer from the company or from the establishment. Then we can directly approach to the labor courts. But before going to the labor courts, there are particular authorities given under this act. Just to give example, there are labor commissioners available in the district and in the particularly for the the chief commissioners of the labor as well. There are provisions given under this act. So we can approach to the commissioners to settle our injustice between the company and the establishment. Okay, so there is no need to approach directly to the labor courts. We can first go to the labor commissioners, but labor commissioners has certain limitations, or in certain subject matter they cannot interfere. So in that case, you will have to directly approach to the labor courts or the industrial courts. So basically, there is a hierarchy. First is labor commissioner, then second is the labor courts, and third is the industrial courts. Okay, the labor courts stands before the industrial courts, and industrial courts supervises the work for the labor courts. So we have got the the award or the order from the labor court which is against our case, then we can approach to the industrial court by appealing that order. Okay, by challenging that order. So these are few definitions, few provisions given under this act. So we will be moving to the next major act, that is Maharashtra Trade Recognition of Trade Unions and Prevention of Unfair Labor Practices. So there are two parts given under this act. First is the recognition of trade unions. Suppose the particular group of people wants to form a union, then they will have to follow the procedure of this statute. That is first part. Okay, suppose I am a worker of the a worker of particular industry or particular establishment, and establish, I want to form a union to protect the members of the union. Then I will have to follow the statute provisions given under the MRTU and PLT Act. Okay, what are the provisions? What are the protection given under this act? We can go through that. Okay, there are petty provisions. There are how many members should be there to form a union. Okay, like that provisions are given. What is the fees for forming a trade union that is provided under this part one. So basically, I have what which I have already discussed, that there are two parts. One part governs the procedure to form a union, that is trade union. Okay. Second part is prevention of unfair labor practices. That is most important part, which covers the exploitation, main exploitation from the employer or the employee. Okay. So the Trade Unions Act, what are the provisions? We can go through Act for knowing the exact procedure to form a union. Okay, that is the less important topic for today's lecture. We will be observing the, we will be discussing the PLP provisions. What are the PLP provisions? Means prevention of unfair labor practices. What are unfair labor practices? We will be going through that. So basically, in MRTU and PLP Act, Schedule 2, 3, and 4 deals with the unfair labor practices. Okay, we'll go through one by one. Schedule 2 says that unfair labor practices on the part of employers. Okay. Now, why I say that this act equally applies to the employers and employee as well. There are cases happened. There are recent case laws that even the employee can mislead the case. Yeah, even the employee or the workman can file a forged case or the fraud case in the court of law to harass the employer or to get false compensation from the employer. There are cases. That is why this act applies harmoniously to the employers as well, to the employee as well. Okay. Now, basically, this act, what was the main objective of this act? That this act came into picture to protect the employee, okay, or to protect the workman and to govern the employer. Okay, so we cannot say that this act only applies to the only protects to the employee. It also protects to the employer as well. Okay, so I deal with various labor cases. I observe a thing that this act is a very beneficial, and it applies equally. It applies equally to the employer as well. It applies to the equally to the employee as well. There is no discrimination given. Okay, it is not like only the employers can be default. Employers can do default. There are many chances an employee can also be at default. Okay, to harmonize or to give a justice to give appropriate justice in these cases, this act applies harmoniously to both the parties. As far as the rule of natural justice is concerned, both the parties get equal opportunities to represent their side. Okay. Now, unfair labor practices means what? Unfair means which is not fair. Okay, which is not fair from the part of the employer. Okay, so what is the first unfair labor practice is to interfere with, restrain or coerce employee. Coerce means to threaten. Okay, to threaten some employees in the exercise of their right to organize, form, join or assist a trade union. Okay, these are various types given to the worker to engage in concerted activities for the purposes of collective bargaining or the mutual aid or protection. That is to say, threatening employees with discharge or dismissal. Okay, that is first unfair labor practice. This unfair labor practices, which protects worker and gives punishment to the employer, is derived from the fundamental rights. Okay, we have right to freedom of speech and expression. We have right to form a union, trade union. That is fundamental right. That is why various rights given under the this industrial MRT and PLP Act to the worker. That is, they can form a trade union. That is their fundamental right. Okay. Now, to threaten a worker or employee, that is unfair labor practice. Threatening a lockout or closure. Basically, the lockout or closure is from the employer side. That is why they, in various situations, they threaten employer or workman, employee or workman to uh, close down the industry or to close down their establishment. Okay. So, second is to dominate, interfere, or contribute, support financial, otherwise to any union. Okay. The trade unions, they are independent uh, authority. We can say they are independent governing body which protects the worker from the exploitation. But in various situations, it can happen that the establishment or the employer can interfere in the trade unions decision, or they can manipulate the industries, trade unions workings and their decisions or their activities. So to prohibit that thing, it is considered as unfair labor practice from the side of the employer. Okay, they cannot interfere in the trade unions. To establish employer sponsored unions, it is unfair labor practice. If I am an employer, I am an establishment, and if I want to start a trade union sponsored by the establishment or sponsored by the employer, I cannot do that. That is unfair labor practice, and that is prohibited by the law. Okay, to encourage or discourage membership in any union or discriminating against any employee. Okay, proposing or continuing on lockout deemed to be illegal under this act. Lockout, which are considered as illegal, and uh, advocating that lockout, it is an unfair labor practice given under this act. Now, Schedule 3 provides for the unfair labor practices on the part of trade unions. Okay, as I already said, both the parties or whatever how many parties are there, whichever party is entered into the case of the trade union or the whichever party provided under this act, okay, is equally liable or is equally under obligation for the penalty or the protection, is equally liable. So Schedule 3 provides for the defaults or the under unfair labor practices on the part of trade unions. First is to advise or actively support or to instigate any strike deemed to be illegal under this act. Instigating any illegal strike, it is considered as a unfair labor practice. To coerce employees in the exercise of their right to self-organization or to join unions or to refrain from joining any unions. That is to say, there are multiple provisions given under this provision. Okay, to for a recognized union to refuse to bargain collectively in good faith with the employer. To indulge in coercive activities against certification of a bargaining representative. Fifth is to stage, encourage, or instigate such forms of coercive actions as willful go slow, squatting on the work premises after working hours, or gherav. Okay, so we have seen in lots of films, movies, what they do, what the workers do, they do gherav to the employer. So this is considered as a illegal or unfair labor practice. To stage demonstration at the residences of the employers or the managerial staff members. Okay, we cannot go to the residence of the employer and we cannot strike at their residence. This is considered as illegal and unfair labor practice. Okay. Now, Schedule 4 provides for the general unfair labor practices on the part of employers. Okay. Now, first is this is the most important provision in the MIT and PLP Act, the General Unfair Labor Practices. The first given that to discharge or dismiss employees by way of victimization, not in good faith, but in colorable exercise of the employer's rights. Okay. Uh, Provision C says that by falsely implicating an employer in criminal case on false evidence or on con- concocted evidences. Okay. Concocted means false evidences or the fabricated evidences for patently false reasons on untrue or trumped up allegations of absence without leaves. Okay. In utter discharge or in utter disregard of the principles of natural justice in the conduct of domestic inquiry or with undue haste. Okay. So there are multiple provisions given to abolish the work of a regular nature being done by the employees and to give such work to contractors as a measure of breaking the strike. Okay. Now there are multiple provisions given. The last one says that to indulge in an act of force or violence. Now, when you are striking, when you are going against the employer, that strike or that protest should be in a peaceful manner. If you are going violent to protest, then that will be considered as illegal thing, and that is unfair labor practice given under the MRTO and PLP Act. So there are multiple provisions. There are so many provisions to protect the employee from the exploitation from the exploitation of employer, and simultaneously this act works for the employer as well to protect from harassment of the employee. Okay, so there are multiple provisions given. So we will be going to our slides. So as of now, we have discussed about the basic structure and the overview of statutes. One we have discussed about the Industrial Disputes Act, and one we have discussed about the MRTO and PLP Act. Okay, so this was the part one, and we'll be discussing about the legal remedies available to the worker, to the employer, to the employee as well. Okay, so the procedural part we'll be discussing in part two. So uh, since then, I take your leave. Thank you for the patience and keep in touch with us. Hit a like button or the share, or you can subscribe to our channel as well. Okay. So thank you for listening to us.